What's up, everybody? How you doing? Martin Lopez here for Men's Breakthrough. We got another week. I just want to jump into it because I had this conversation with a friend of mine, Bill Lopez, not related. At least I'm not sure. We might be related. Who knows, right? So Bill is, he does a lot of work with the mind, and I might be doing it wrong, so he'll correct me. But basically, what happened is we were having a conversation, and he was sharing some stuff with me. And what he shared with me is he has these four prime beliefs that are really, really cool. So I was digging it. We're having a good time. And when I was talking to him, and he was talking about how he's reprogrammed his own mind because of what he's been through in his life. And I think that's really cool. And then in the process, I think I'm a real positive person. Would you agree? I'm like a positive guy, right? Well, in the process, he said something to me. He goes, that I have language, that I'm speaking language, and he'll correct me. He's saying I have language that is not positive, like not like it's negative, but it's just not as positive as I thought it was. So I said, don't tell me any more about it. I don't want to hear anything more about it. I want to uncover this in front of my friends, in front of people on Facebook. So I'm going to bring Bill in, and real quick, I'm going to bring Bill in. And then when I was talking to Bill, I thought about, I'm going to bring my other buddy, Mike Poston. And the reason I'm bringing Mike in, hey, Mike, is because I haven't talked to Mike in 5 months, because Mike has been meditating and fasting for like 5 months. So first, Bill, why don't you go ahead and take a second, introduce yourself, tell us all about you, and then I'll have Michael introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Lopez. Long story short, I've suffered massive amounts of abuse in my life, and this has changed my whole life for the worse. So basically, I was looking for a way to make my life better, and I tried everything out there, everything I was able to study: hypnosis, behavioral conditioning, NLP, positive thinking, everything else. Nothing was working, nothing had the power. So I had to do my own search, look for something that was powerful enough to actually make the change that I needed. And it was quite a process to figure a lot of things out. And even today, here we are, like more than 20 years later, and I'm still making new discoveries about the actual programs that the human brain run on. Now, this is different from what other people talk about. As far as I can tell, it's kind of like the difference between the Wright brothers, who were unknown before Kitty Hawk, and the world-renowned experts who everybody believed in. It was the Wright brothers that actually created the science, and all those world-renowned experts at the time who were worldwide known, they created no science at all whatsoever. And so I'm in that position right now when it comes to the programs that run the human mind.
You said they created what?
Well, the Wright brothers created the science of powered flight. It's not that they were just the first people to actually achieve flight. They created the science that's still used today. But the world-renowned experts that everybody was, they had financial backing, the news media was following them. They left us no science.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They just wanted to win. The idea was they just wanted to win and be the first people and then get all the money for it, right? They weren't interested in the art, it seemed.
Well, they were actually doing everything they could. So for some reason, I don't know why they didn't create any science, but it was the Wright brothers that did create the science.
That's cool. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you. So what you're saying is that in your journey, you're literally you're creating this new science.
Exactly.
I love that. That's cool, man. Awesome. So this is going to be a great conversation. Michael, where the heck have you been, brother? Unmute yourself and jump in. I want to hear about you, see what you've been up to.
Hey, everyone. It's great to be back. Thank you, Martin, for having me. My name is Michael Post, along with my wife, Alex Tinoli. We're the founders and visionaries of Samadhi State of Wisdom Meditation School, where, sharing my story, I've been on the path for 20 years, so I love that synchronicity. And I've been on the path of really discovering myself. And what I realized is, just as you can destroy your life, you can create it. And you can rewrite your story. And you can realize that you're always using your power of meditation in every moment of your life. The question is, are we consciously using that powerful gift, which is meditating within ourselves, getting to know who we are, so those stories in the background don't run our lives, so that we can be a good human being, upgraded human being, like we're meant to upgrade, so that we can show up in the world in the godlike qualities of kindness, compassion, patience, truth, love, life, etc.
Awesome. Cool. So thank you, Michael. And I'm excited to see you. You've been meditating for pretty much 5 months straight,
Yeah.
right under.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So you got one of the things I always talk about is I journal. So if I get into a conversation with somebody and it's a great conversation, I'll start to journal and make notes. So Bill, I had a just an amazing conversation with you. So thanks for reaching out to me. So let's just jump right into it. You said that you have put together something called the 4 prime beliefs. So let's talk about that. Let's share that with everybody.
Sure. Yeah, the 4 prime beliefs would be the first one, most important one is whether or not we are a good person or a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
The second one would be, do we have value as a person or are we worthless? The third one would be, how do we expect people to treat us? Being kind and caring to us, or on the other side is abusive. Now, yeah, and the fourth one finally would be, are we in control of our lives or are our lives out of our control? And I just want to underline the fact that this is not an either or. All of these exist on a continuum, and they coalesce together to create an umbrella of what our life should be, the overall arching theme of our life, whether we should have a life of paradise or garbage or anywhere in between the two endpoints. And most of us are in the middle.
That's cool. So I'm going to give it back to you because I just want to be, because this is really cool stuff. So the first one is, are we a good person or a bad person? And that's
correct.
And so let's dive into because I was asking you a lot of questions and you said, no, that's not right, Martin. And you kept correcting me. And I'm like, I'm not getting it. I think I eventually got it, but
right.
It's not as it appears right off the top. It's just not, it's deeper than that. So I asked you, so I'm always asking myself, am I a good person or a bad person? And then you said,
it exists completely out of your awareness.
So I'm not consciously asking myself or looking for an answer for that. It's built into the software that's already there.
Exactly. It's been programmed into you.
Okay. So I want to understand that. And Michael, kind of like, chime on in. So what I really want to do is like, I don't know if I believe what you're saying. And I told Michael, like, I don't know if I believe this, but it was so good. It's worth considering, and that's like the curiosity theory. Like, you don't have to believe something, but if what you do is just discount it because you think it's not true, then you haven't been curious. You haven't opened your mind. Because I'll tell you something, Bill, when you told me this, I actually had a shift. I had a major shift, like one of the biggest shifts I've had in my life over this week. And I wanted to call you and tell you about it, but I didn't want to mess up today. I didn't want to mess up what we're going to do today. So, okay. So we have a mechanism. It's called a brain. It's called a body. It's called a spirit. There's programming that exists already in that. That's what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
And that programming is, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? That programming sits in there. Do we have access to that programming?
There's no conscious access.
Okay. There's no conscious access. Is there subconscious access?
Yes, there is.
Okay, cool. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
Michael, do you have any questions? You got to be faster with that, Mike. Just leave it on.
I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to hear what is
digesting. Okay. You're just digesting. Okay. Got it. So then the second thing is then we look for our value. The second part, the second part is the value. So say that again, please.
Do I have value as a person or am I worthless?
Do I have value or am I worthless?
Yeah. This might be exhibited in people saying like, well, who am I to do X, or who am I such that I could, achieve that?
Okay. So I'm the guinea pig here. Okay. And so I give both of you guys permission to say whatever you want, and you're welcome to make an accusation, and I will, like you say, well, Martin, you're like this, and I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm an open book like that. Okay. So do I have value? Am I worthless? So I'm building a program called Men's Breakthrough. The idea is to help men that have gone through divorce, men that have gone through trauma, men that have gone through what we go through as men. So sometimes I'm like working real hard at it, And I think, is like, is what I'm doing worthless? Does it have any value? Is that the same thing if I'm asking what I'm doing worthless? Does that have any value? Is it the same thing? Am I really asking based on your philosophy? Am I asking, am I worthless?
Right. That's a good question because, as I stated on our call before, that everything we do comes from these beliefs. These beliefs drive our behavior. So it is possible that the worthless proposition, being worthless as a person, could be driving that behavior. Well, I think this is worthless, because it's emanating from who you are.
So my thoughts is that the brain is set up for negativity. It's like, it's going to default to the negative part of it. It's going to default to you're worthless faster for most people than it is that, oh, this has a lot of value. Is that accurate, or is it 50-50?
Yes, I would say that's accurate, that most people have been programmed with a lot of negativity. And that's why, professional ball players, 5 years after retirement, people have won the lottery. These people get tens of millions of dollars, and in 5 years, 76% are flat broke. That's how strong the negative programming is.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, cool. And then the third one, should we just talk about the first two? Because I don't think we got to the third and the fourth one. You and I just stayed on the first two. Should we wait to the third and fourth one? Like, we'll talk about the first two and then we'll get to the other one. Is that a better strategy?
Sounds good.
Okay. So one of the things that you know me, Bill, like, I'm always like up against stuff. So I want to take what you're saying and I want to use it for my betterment. Like, I want to make myself a better person. I want to be able to share that with people that I know, people that I coach, the men that I work with, even the women that I work with. That's like my intention. That's what I want to do. So first I'm applying, oops, he there we go. Or is that? He popped back out. Let me see. Okay. So first, that's where I go first. So first I'm going to apply it to myself and see if it works. Okay. So what I was tackling in our conversation was that you had said, Martine, you have, and I correct me if I'm wrong, you have, like, the way you speak, you have negativity in your speaking. I don't know if you used those words. Do you remember kind of what you said?
I remember there's some things you said that emanated from a negative stance. I forget exactly what it was, but there's one example.
Emanated from a negative stance. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So emanated from it, because that's good enough for me. That's emanated from a negative stance. So if you're listening, make a comment. Hey, hi, Anita. If you're listening, then would you consider that what you say or what you speak or what you think emanates from a negative stance? Would that be something that you could tell people? Is that okay to say?
That's okay to say. Yeah. It's not always in everything that's said, but it'll come out in certain things.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So I'm just like all you, I'm the student here.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
So, yeah. So basically, if you're to randomly ask people, what does they want in life? What does they want? Most of them are virtually, almost all of them are going to answer something in the negative. Well, I don't want this. I don't want that. And
yes,
that's coming from the negative. They know pretty well what they don't want. And the reason they don't want it is because that's what they're getting. And the reason they're getting it is because the brain is programmed to find that for them. It's just looking for it like a radar. And boop, 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 there it is. Yeah. And, they've got that. And in the world of hypnosis, this is known as the theory of dominant thought. It's just what your thought dominates on, that's what you're going to get.
Okay.
So when a person's focused on the negative, they're going to get the negative no matter how much they don't want it.
So it's also called the law of attraction. It's called a lot of other things, correct?
It can very well fit that description.
Okay, cool. Okay. But it's not that. So if it could fit the description, are you saying?
It's not that, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Because it's a program that actually exists in the brain. And so the body's senses are completely at the disposal of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has incredible powers of understanding what's going on around us. So it's kind of like omniscient, which means it's all knowing about what's going on around us. and actually accurately reads people right away, even though consciously we're in the dark, but subconsciously it accurately reads people. And this is why.
Kind of like an animal knows, like you can be walking with your dog and your dog like kind of growls. It knows that like that person's not a safe person or something, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
like
there's something, that the dog is picking up on. Yes.
So there's this part that has no filter. It just sees, boom, I see. And then you're saying
right now when you talk about filters, when you talk about filters, the subconscious mind is without the filter, but we, the conscious mind, we have the filters. So a lot of stuff that's going on out there, we're not even aware of. The subconscious mind is taking it all in, it's analyzing everything. And so this is why, say, for example, if you have a large gathering of people, there's an abusive person and a victim person, they will hook up because they can read each other. And everyone else that really doesn't pay any attention to them because they're not what they're looking for. The abusive person subconsciously is looking for the abuser, and the abuser, of course, is looking for the person that is the willing victim, so to speak, because they've been programmed to be a victim.
And that all
happens. I myself was
level.
Happens subconsciously, yeah. And I myself, I was, the victim in many relationships.
So are people based on your philosophy, and I can't wait till you write a book, man. Your book's going to be really great. You got to get that out there. So based on your philosophy, you look at it. So are we coming into this world pre-programmed? Does it happen 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6? How does that programming happen?
Yeah, this happens in the formative stages of our life. This is what psychology refers to as the imprint stage. The first 5 or so years, what comes into us by our primary caregivers, that is how we are, and that's how we will be for the rest of our lives. And that's what we need to change for a lot of people.
So how does based on what you're thinking of, how does good, like what we would call, you've been raised really well, like you had what you needed, but you still turned out to be a little knucklehead, how does that fit inside of that? I mean, I have an idea, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah. Can you repeat that? The beginning was having some digital audio error.
Okay. So how does, like, a person that's raised in a good house, like, the mom says, yeah, you were raised in a good house. I mean, we gave you everything you wanted. You asked for this, we gave you that. Mom and dad didn't argue. Like, everything was like nice. But then you're doing drugs and getting fights and all that other stuff. You're creating problems where there's no problem. How does that happen? Like,
yeah, what you just said defines the problem. We gave you what you wanted. That's indulgence.
I love it. Thank you. I love it. Thank you. Okay, cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So that's the first, so that's that's how it happens fundamentally. And then you have this programming, just like this fundamental, and the software is like, it's like Windows, right? It's not like Word, right? Word is not because you have access to Word. It's like the fundamental window. Okay. So got it. Okay.
It's the operating software.
It's the operating system, not the program.
Exactly.
You use. Okay. So the good person, bad person is in the operating software. The valuable, am I valuable or am I worthless? That's in the operating system. Okay.
Exactly.
Is the expectations as well in the all these things are all in the operating system?
Well, when you say expectations, are you talking about the conscious mind again?
Well, I'm talking about your your 4 prime beliefs when you were talking about expectations.
Well, what I'm saying is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The prime beliefs coalesce to form the overarching theme of our life. Like I said, somewhere between paradise and garbage. So that everything in our life coalesces around that point of where we are between paradise and garbage.
Yeah. Okay. And then the part that I didn't know, but the part you said, are we in control or are we out of control?
is our life under our control or is our life out of our control?
So these are just, this is, I think I have to agree with everything you said. So I think that there's always a thought about being good or bad. I think that's always there. It's always like this kind of question that I don't even have to manage. I don't manage the question. It happens. The questions, it seems to just keep happening over and over. And then, is this valuable? Do I bring value, or it's worthless? That's a constant. That's a constant thing that's back there. And then expectations, like noticing, like that I do have expectations for people. They meet them. Sometimes I don't meet them. And I have my own personal expectations for myself, and I meet them and don't meet them. And it's like where does, like, almost like, where the fuck does this shit come from? You know, and I say it like that, not, not because I want to cuss, but to demonstrate the frustration over that. Like you're kind of just walking down the street. And you're like, fuck, what, like why am I thinking this when I don't need to think this? It's like, everything's great. Why do I have to be reminded to think positive? What, it's like, so that's, I'm expressing the frustration that I've had in my life.
Exactly.
And I ask you to, so please comment about that.
Yeah, the frustration comes from the fact that it's out of your control. Okay. So we've been brought up to believe that consciously we are in control of our lives. And as we go through our lives, there's so many things that we do and things that happen to us that are just completely out of our control. And that's where the frustration comes from, is because we just can't get a hand on it. It's like one of the phrases that people say is like, I know better, but I can't help myself.
I love it. So you said something. So you know me, Bill, and you know me, Michael. I pick up on words, and I pick up and I pull apart sentences, because I think that's the most, for me, that's a very important part of communication. So you said consciously in control. You said consciously in control, specifically consciously in control. So the the frustration comes because we are not consciously in control with regard to the 4 prime beliefs.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of go over those again. So if I'm always, if what's always happening is in the background, I'm going, am I a good person or bad person? Is this, do I bring in value, or is this worthless? Does this meet my expectations or not? Or do you meet my expectations or not? If all this stuff is bouncing around, and then and it's all like wrapped together, like it's like all mushed together at the same time, it's hard to pull it apart because it just keeps rolling together like a bunch of rubber bands. When you get a bunch of, it's like like a big rubber band ball. And are we in control? Are we out of control? Like, it's like, shit, that's I know, like, I constantly notice that. That's the very noticeable thing. All right, Michael, I need you to jump in here, because I want to hear what you have to say about this before I move on.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of things come to me as you were saying, because I've been studying the brain for many years, because I actually fought the brain for so many years. And when you talk about good or bad, that's a great foundation that people don't realize, that good and bad is that constant battle that we're trying to fight something that's not meant to be fought. So we want to fight the brain, but in fighting the brain, we're using the brain to fight itself, instead of transcending and ascending our consciousness so that we can observe it, and the brain is willing to serve that. So what I mean by this,
respond to that. Okay, that was a great thought, Bill. I want you to respond, because Michael talks about this stuff, and I hear him talking about it.
Yeah, this comes from the idea that we do not know what's going on in our brain, and so people do the best that they can to explain what's going on or try to move us forward. But because I've actually pierced through that veil of secrecy, I actually now understand how this works. And so if we actually reprogram the brain, then the brain works in our favor. So it's either, our program is for us or against us. Once again, the paradise versus garbage metaphor. So once we get the brain programmed more towards paradise, our life automatically improves.
Okay, is that what you're saying, Michael? Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. It's sort of like when a child is growing up with their parents, right? They trust their parents to take care of them, right? And then they mature and they become responsible for example, you're not going to give a kid that's 5 years young a knife. You're not going to let them drive your vehicle because they haven't gained the maturity to comprehend what can be utilized as a tool or a weapon. Because they both, the positive and the negative, the good and the bad, are all present in, like, any one of us can awaken our dark side. Like any one of us. This is what we're all capable of. Just like we're all capable of greatness. So in order to talk about that subject, we need to accept that we have the potential of both. But we're not either or. We're the ones observing both of those choices. So what I mean by this is,
what you're talking about is like when if you step back, Michael, I think what you're saying is like, so if I step back and I become the observer, what I'm going to notice is the good person, the bad person, am I worthless? Do I have value? You'll then notice that. So is that what you're saying, Michael? I'm going to ask Bill a question. Okay. So Bill, did you do that? Did you step back to see that, or how did you conclude that? Is that what Michael's saying? Is that, are we on the same page, or are we on different pages?
It's different.
Okay.
What Michael is saying is, like what's been, example, a typical example is cartoons. You see the character, poof, there pops the devil on one shoulder and the devil's saying, certain things over there, and then poof, there's the angel on the other. And so, oh, but you need to do this. You're such a good person, and and that's the struggle, and that is because that's how things are for a lot of people, and that's why these things come out metaphorically, even in cartoons. So basically, if you want to use that particular metaphor, you could be saying that I'm making the devil insignificant and I'm enlarging the angel. So the angel's on our side. The angel wants the best for us, where the devil wants to destroy us. So now we're actually being a higher percentage of what is beneficial for us.
Cool. So Michael, was that what you were saying? Or what? One
thing I would like to add to that, because I've given this example so many times and I love that example, Bill, is that when you realize, who are they trying to convince? They're not trying to convince each other. They're not fighting each other. You think they're fighting each other, but they're trying to convince the one that has the power the whole time. The brain doesn't have any power without consciousness. It just doesn't.
Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, I would say that the subconscious does drive us. Like I said, and many times it drives us against our own conscious will.
Right.
And that's the thing. I've experienced, that many times where, I've been driven across against my conscious will, where I'm helpless. Things such as, do we sleep well at night? Because we're not conscious when we're asleep. That's all subconscious. When we go to play sports, or we go to dance, or, just about anything, even our intelligence levels, that is under the control of the subconscious. Yes. So as we improve this programming, our intelligence level goes up, our sports performance goes up, we do better with money.
Everything's so lost. Okay, I love this. Okay, so if I'm lost, maybe other people are lost. So let's say that for a fifth grader again. So Michael, say what you said again. Bill, remember what you're saying. Michael, say it for a fifth grader, and then Bill, please say what you said for a fifth grader. Can you do that really quick?
I had something that came to me from what Bill said, but I'll come back to that. If you look at the thing that I said before.
Yeah. Fifth grader.
The angel and the devil are not fighting each other. This is the illusion.
Okay. That's what the point was. Okay.
They're trying to convince the observer, the state, and they can't.
Okay, Bill.
You make the choice. You make the choice to. And you're using
right. There's some places where we do have choice, but the majority of our life, we do not have the choice.
Right.
And, this is why we do things where we know better we shouldn't, but we do something else. Or like when we're sleeping, because when we're sleeping, we're not conscious. The conscious mind is completely gone when we're sleeping. And so the subconscious mind is in complete control. So that's one of the differences between people who can sleep well, get a full night's sleep.
Oh man, he's gone. He's back.
So anyway, so now this also goes into sports performance, dancing and whatever. I got a friend of mine, she loves dancing. She's taken a lot of dancing classes. And, as we were having this conversation, she's told me that amongst her dancing friends, they've also said the same things. Like, well, I know the dance steps, I practice them, but sometimes I just can't do them. And that's one of the things that shows that ultimately it is up to the programming and is completely out of the control of the conscious mind.
Okay, so I got a question.
Can I
about
share
that.
something on there,
Okay.
Martin?
Yeah, absolutely.
One word that I love that Bill used is there's a confusion when we work with the brain, because the brain doesn't have that Bill said. In my humble perspective, and my observation of my inner work, is that the brain has the capacity to have intellectuality. Like that's what it's designed for. But the heart is the intelligence. It's like the seed of a tree.
No, yeah, but
It
we're not
knows what
talking
to
about
do.
that yet. We're not. Hold on to those thoughts,
But when
because
we go into that subconscious, that's what we're referring to. Right. Go ahead.
that's another part. Okay, that's
Okay.
I think we're not getting there yet. So we got a little
Okay.
bit more time. We got like a half hour, so we'll get
Okay.
there. Maybe we might not get there. So the question, so let's take the dance, the person that's the dancer. Okay, you just
Yeah.
gave us an example. Okay, so so that the programming is negative, you're going to have more of those results. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool. Michael, I think what you're saying is cool, but I want to stay more fundamental before I conclude. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that I noticed that and happens in Men's Breakthrough is like people will start the class and they'll try to conclude. It's like, well, let's work on this, because what's possible is a deeper conclusion or a more solid conclusion. So I like where you're going at, and I think that there's a lot of different ways to say it. Like my thought is like a whole different thought, and I'll share that in a little bit. But okay, so the programming is negative, for lack of a better word, negative. And so that's why you get the results, or I get the results, or they get the results. Okay. So then I want to then go to what you said about me in my speaking, because what my experience was when I was married was I would ask my wife, I'd ask Yvette a question, and I'd say, what do you want to do? And she would always tell me what she didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would not classify myself as a person that would answer that way, but you saw me answer that way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it. That's what I was interested in, because I was thinking I couldn't figure out exactly what you were saying when we were talking the other night, but I wanted to hear the answer, but I wanted to figure out the answer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into that. Okay. So basically, like what I'm going to invite everybody to do right now is to look at your propensity, I guess, or your automatic going, answering a question that's like, what do you want to do? Or a positive question with a negative spin. I know what I don't like. So what is it? What do you want to eat for dinner? Well, I can tell you what I don't want to eat for dinner.
Right.
It's like, where do you want to go this weekend? Well, I can tell you where I don't want to go this weekend. Right. So let's dive into that. Let's take that apart if we can.
Okay.
And we may go over an hour.
Yeah. So you'd be asking me what's driving that behavior.
No, because I think I know what's driving the behavior. We already talked about that. It's the 4 prime beliefs are driving the behavior. So we know that. So if you just chimed in, then we talked about what's driving the behavior already. How would you have coached? This is better. How would you have coached me, or go ahead and coach me now in what you saw me doing? I'm going to listen. And Michael, if you want to coach at the same time, I want to listen, because I want to unpack this. I really want to unpack this.
Yeah. Are you asking about the phone conversation last week, or?
Yeah, the phone conversation we had last week where you said, and then you said you also said something that I'm trying to look at my notes, is that you said you have something that you would say that fixes all of that. Like you have a question or something that fixes it all. Remember?
Do you remember what you said that that I zeroed in
that's the
on.
whole thing, because it's the whole thing is I don't remember what I said, because
Yeah.
what you're
Can I chime in
saying,
real quick, Martin?
like if I asked Yvette, if I went back and told Yvette, I said, I used to ask you, what do you want to do? And she would just tell me what she didn't want to do. I would bet $1 million that she has no recollection of her doing that. That is because basically what you're saying and what Michael says is that you don't even know you do it.
Right.
You
Exactly.
do it. And because it's such a prime belief, such as a prime programming, to me, what I'm thinking is like, your thoughts are here. I think this is what's going on. You say things and you do stuff, and you only notice that you did it or said it after the fact. You don't really notice it when it's happening. And then for the most part, probably 95%, 99% of the time, you don't even know it even happened.
Exactly. It's because the program wants to remain hidden. It doesn't want to be disturbed. Doesn't want you to know that it's even there. And one example I just remember right now is that a lot of times people that are overweight, they will engage in what's called subconscious eating. They'll actually eat and not even be aware that they're eating, just like what you're saying. You're not even aware what's going on when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's all coming from the programming. Okay. So you actually have to change the programming in order to get that under control.
Awesome. Michael.
One thing that came to me as I heard both of you, and I love this, by the way. Let me just say, Martin, I love that us as men or beautiful souls can come together and talk about things that most people will argue about. So that's what I really appreciate. The one thing that came to me as I hear both of you talking is a beautiful example is, when you're driving on the freeway, if somebody's going, 45, 35 on the freeway, you're going to zip by them, right? So the reason why I say this is, like, the freeway is like the circuitry of the brain, right? So if you're going too fast, you're not going to see what's happening. Subconscious moves so fast that when you start to slow down, then you can reprogram. If you're going fast, that's why it takes steps to reprogram the subconscious. You can't outwork the subconscious. You can't outsmart the subconscious. It'll outsmart every time because it's defending itself. It's trying to protect you from hurting yourself, and it's programmed to believe that whatever you think is dangerous, it's going to believe that that's what's harming you. But
I got it. Okay, so this is what I want to do. Let's stop real quick. And I love what you're saying, Michael. But this is where the curiosity theory excels. We can keep talking about the mechanism. We can keep talking about the software. We can keep talking about the programming. We can keep doing that. But none of that matters. That then becomes like a conversation. What I asked was, last week, Bill said something, and it's okay if you don't remember. It's totally fine. You noticed me approaching a conversation from the negative thing, from the I know what I don't want. You noticed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I don't need to distinguish anymore the 4 prime beliefs. I don't need to distinguish the fact that I have a subconscious running myself. I don't need to distinguish that my conscious, I don't need that. Like, we can talk about that ad nauseum. And what will happen is nothing. Nothing will happen. Zero will happen. We'll just feel like 3 smart guys, 3 smart rats that are talking shit, and people are going, oh my God, I like to listen to those guys because they're smart. No, we're not smart, because if we can't use this information, to improve our lives or improve other people's lives or make the experience of life, like you said, no, I don't want to be I don't want to be in the shit. I want to be in the paradise. If we can't do that, then we're just full of shit.
Right. The word is intellectual masturbation.
Exactly. So let's stop working up intellectually. And the question is, I have the question, and I'm sincere. I'm super sincere about this.
Yeah.
So I said something that you noticed that I was being negative in my approach. Okay.
Right.
Walk me through whatever reprogram I need to do or anything like that. Like, let's go there. Are you good? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I can handle that conversation.
Give it a shot.
I just don't have the miracle affirmation. One of the things foundational things is the miracle affirmation, and that's according to the rules of affirmation. It's not an affirmation because it breaks those rules, but it's highly effective because it works with how the brain works. Okay. So, and remember, this is a continuum. So it's not going to be like you do one thing and then all of a sudden you're, all out to the positive extreme. It's going to be a little, a little bit, 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 a little bit. And you have to remain
little bumps. I'm cool with little bumps.
You have to remain, have faith in the process.
Thanks for distinguishing that. Thanks for setting that up. Michael, is this something that you do as well?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned slowing down. Slowing down is key to mastery.
Okay, cool. So you guys are kind of saying the same thing a little differently, but not exactly. It's not exactly the same thing. I get it. It's
right.
Not exactly the same thing. And so one of the things we teach in the Curiosity Theory Men's Breakthrough is like, you're going to hear what you need to hear. Like, so some people are going to hear Michael and go, that's what I need to hear. Some people are going to hear Bill and go, that's what I need to hear. And if we can, like what you said earlier, Michael, if men can have conversations and understand that we're not always talking about the same thing, even though we're in the same conversation, we're all having our own conversation. See, Bill's here because I wanted to have him share about the 4 prime beliefs and the miracle affirmation, and to try to get some value for myself and be coached through that. That's the reason Bill's here for me. The reason Bill's here for himself is a whole different reason. Michael, I wanted you here, for that reason. The reason you're here is for a whole different reason. We all come together as human beings from whatever our needs are, and they're from all over different places. The problem that we have conflict, the problem we have wars, the problem we have all this stuff, absolutely, it sounds like because it comes from our prime belief. But at the same time, it's because we don't have a system to communicate effectively together, that we give each other the respect that we all need. What we do is we keep correcting each other. Well, that's not what I said. I'm like, no, I got it. But what you said, I get that what you said wasn't what you said, but I'm taking what you said and using it for myself this much. Can I just use this much of what you said to improve my life? Well, that's not what I said. It's like, so then it becomes like this tug of war. You get it? And what you said, Michael, earlier, what you said is that this is a respectful conversation. The Curiosity Theory Men's Breakthrough is about giving people the dignity of the way that they communicate, the respect that they deserve as communicators, as men, as women. It's like, what would the world be like if what we did is we heard our kids say something, and then what we wanted them to do is to take the trash out, because you didn't take the trash out yesterday and this morning when I asked you, and you came home and said, this is what happened to me at school today. And I'm just like, you little shit, take the damn trash out. That human beings don't get listened to where they're coming from. If you can listen to that child for a couple minutes, maybe the kid goes, oh my God, Mom, I told you I was going to take the trash out and I didn't do that. Let me get to that. I think the possibilities grow. So that was just kind of a plug for what I do. Bill, this is back to you. If you can remember where the heck we were. Did you freeze?
I think you froze.
I think you froze. Doggone it. Okay, Michael. So he'll pop back in and pop back out. So Michael, take it away from
you said something very key right now, Martin, because we've all heard the word, or most of us have heard the word response and react, right?
Yeah.
When we slow down, that's mastery. That's responding. That's not reactive. It's the default of the brain.
Automatic, quick.
It's survival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the intellect. The intellect is trying to survive to protect its own intellect of the persona of this is who I am, right?
Talk about that. Say that if I was a 5th grader. Communicate
so
that as a
when we're reactive, it's like 2 kids that are arguing over this is my toy. This is my toy. This is my persona. This is my belief. This is my truth. And this is why we go to war. Because we defend what we think is ours. But what you were sharing earlier, Matthew, it's beautiful because if we're willing to let go, we not only free ourselves, but we free to be able to utilize and master this brain.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, like thank you very much, Bill. You said there was a thing called a miracle affirmation. You were talking about that. Can we for we got like 12-15 minutes to go. We got 12 minutes to 13 minutes to go. Can we
All right.
talk about that or try to use it and see if it makes a difference or something? Let's go with that.
Yeah, normally what I would do is, in order to demonstrate this, I have it written on a sheet of paper. And the first thing we would have to do is, have the person that's going to do the miracle affirmation check off the things that are true for them. See, this is where it breaks the rules of affirmation, because an affirmation is you're affirming something that's not true as though it's true because you want it to be true. And so the back of the mind goes baloney, 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 baloney.
That's what I've been saying forever. I love it.
Yeah. So with the miracle affirmation, when you do the miracle affirmation, because you've already gone through your list of things you're going to affirm,
oh my God, he keeps going out. That might be that's what spirit wants, right? Mm. So what I think he's saying, Michael, is that, and I don't know, you tell me how you feel about affirmations. So the way I look at affirmation is kind of what he said. It's like when I hear people talk about affirmations, they're saying all this stuff that they really don't believe. They're like trying to convince themselves, right?
Right. And they're coming from judgment.
Oh, yeah.
When your affirmations don't work, you're coming from judgment. Because
so
go ahead.
No, you'll go ahead. Go ahead.
If you clear the judgment, it's like an artery. If there's a lot of, stuff or junk or whatever you want to call it, then the blood moves slow, right? But when you clear that, you have a good circulatory system. Therefore, you can move better. Therefore, you're stronger, more sharp, more keen, more focused, right? But when you're
say that again. Say the last 10 seconds again.
So the example that we're using right now is when you clear the judgment, right? The self-condemnation, the criticism, the stress. And it's not that we're not going to have it. We're going to have it. That doesn't make it a negative thing. That makes it like it
happens. It's something that happens.
Right. And this is why the positive, negative, I'm a different conversation there, is what's negative is really your subconscious is letting you know this no longer serves you.
Oh, say that again.
What's showing up as negative is really positive because it's sharing with you, it's helping you so that you can evolve. See, our whole wire mechanism is to evolve. So it's letting you know this no longer serves you, but we come from judgment. Then we take negativity and we make it a big monster.
Well, that would be, I'm going to interrupt you here. That would be if you're running from the program of good person, bad person. Well, if you're not coming from the good person, bad person, then correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, you would then notice things and then you would change them because you're committed to paradise.
Okay, I missed the beginning of that. I was offline again for a moment.
It's really cool. So,
Michael, beginning of that,
you want to give it back to him 30 seconds? Or you want me to do it, Michael?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Michael was talking about judgment. So things that we do, right or wrong, comes from judgment. Like is that correct? So we're doing things based on judgment. Like I want to get better, but I want to get better based on judgment.
So again, Martin.
Oh gosh.
I think he froze again.
He's moving. He's moving. I'm
moving here.
People want to improve themselves based on judgment. Like this sucks about me. And so if that's where you're coming from, then you're coming from the bad person perspective. But if you're rewiring yourself and you're coming from that I'm worthy and I'm a good person, you're coming from this other thing. You're coming from the positive. You're coming from the paradise. Then you're not fixing something broken. You're moving toward improving to have more paradise. Is that what you're saying, Bill?
Right. Yeah. When you get to the paradise side, everything naturally happens to create a paradise for you. So all the negative things that you've been doing, they disappear. All the positive things come on stronger. So you're actually being, you're driven, one way or the other, depending on the paradise or the garbage where you are on that continuum. So as you move more towards the paradise continuum, then everything automatically happens that way. You stop doing the things that you know are bad for you. You start doing the things that you know are good for you.
But you're not doing
You
them.
actually start filtering for
It's
people.
automatic. But what you're saying is
It's automatic.
you're not doing it. Like you're not going, I choose this road. It is how it evolves. Like it's simple. You're just like, I don't do drugs, it's like not my thing, right? I don't drink, I don't over drink. It's just part of how I'm put together. And I could start doing that, but it would be against my programming. But if I was somebody that liked to do that, then I would attract a lot of people that drank a lot of people that did drugs. And then that would then create this kind of a different reality of my life. But I do things, this is the point. The point is that I do things that are driven from my negativity, my negative part of my prime belief. And I think that's what Bill was saying. And I believe that that's the part. And what he's saying is that the miracle affirmation works because what you're actually doing is you're saying, this is what I believe. So it could say, I'm going to ask him this when he comes back. Like, so he's saying, and you tell me what you think about that, Michael. If you're creating an affirmation and talk about your hair. That's you could do an affirmation about your hair. So I love your hair, man, but I saw you today. Dude, I love your hair. I cut off my hair and you grew your hair. So what you were saying is that, so your where you were coming from. So talk about your hair again, Michael. So, because I want to kind of see if we can tie it into what he's saying.
Yeah. And when I hear Bill talk about paradise, what I really hear is authentic, like being true to you.
That's fine. That's fine. Right? That's not, because that becomes more mental masturbation. Let's not distinguish that so much right now. So let's just let him use what he's using.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. I believe I've been having a phone overheating problem. I rearranged it to try and increase the airflow around the phone a little bit more to try and keep the temperature down. Awesome. Which is a practical solution. And the word practical is what we need, as opposed to the mental masturbation, what's going to work, what's practical, what's going to work, what's going to make the difference.
Exactly. Yeah. What's practical? What will make a difference? Okay. So Michael had in I don't know how long it's been, but Michael used to have really, really short hair, and he used to talk about your hair.
I used to be very critical about my hair, but it was like mostly an unconscious conversation. But when it came to, let's just say in the morning, I would comb my hair and it would, be nice. And I would even train my hair. And if a little curls come out, I mean, it comes back to my cholo, my gangster days, right? You have to have slick back hair. And if I had a little curl, I'd feel like, I'm growing wings and I'm going to fly. For somebody else, it doesn't sound like a big deal. But for me, it was a big deal. So what I did is I grew my hair out and I said, look, I'm going to prove to my brain that these stories aren't true, because I'm just as beautiful. I'm just as great, whether hair, no hair. I've shaved it off. I've done the whole bit to it. So that's an example that I used with Martin is, the only thing is, like, I'm not used to like the feeling of it. Sometimes it itches, but other than that, it'll go over time.
But the point of what you were doing was to
face it,
was to teach your brain that first off, you're not in charge, correct?
Right.
And then you said, and the thought that your brain had that you were living is not necessarily true.
Right.
What I want to do is tie that into the miracle affirmation. So we live in a series of, I think what you're saying, correct me, Bill. We're living in a series of conclusions, thoughts, ideas, beliefs. We operate as though those beliefs are true. Like they say, I think, therefore I am. It's like there's that thing, right? I think, therefore I am.
Right.
Descartes, yeah. So we, included myself, believe that because I have a thought that's truth, and we live as though that thought is truth. Are we on the same page here, Bill?
Yeah, subconsciously, yes. This thing is all just a conceptualized process, but the result is this is what has control over our lives, even though it's not real. It's a program.
That's crazy. That is so funny. I mean, you know why the Buddha laughs? Because he got this. It's like,
Yes.
you have your subconscious has complete control over your life, and it's all a joke. None of it's true.
Martin,
Exactly.
you hit it right there
It's
on the
what's
nail.
been put in there.
You hit it right there on the nail. Descartes was thinking into existence, right?
Yes.
So he came up with that mantra. It affected all of society.
Oh yeah.
Buddha went deeper. So Descartes thought there was a demon or some evil thing controlling us. Buddha faced it, he transcended it, and he was able to go and master that brain. Descartes wasn't. That's why he gave up on that thought.
So
I
did
think
Buddha-
therefore I am.
Did
Yet
Buddha?
I'm
Well,
not.
we don't know. We don't know
Right?
if he did or didn't. I'm asking the question: did Buddha master the brain, or did Buddha step back and
Exactly.
just laugh at it? Go, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. You're gonna get triggered. That's what you're gonna do.
Martin,
But you don't have to react.
Martin, you know my story, so I'm gonna use it as an example.
Yeah.
I used to have that thought as well. I used to think that I was, really evil, right? And I was afraid to face it until I was in a cell, faced with myself. I ran from my brain. So
you were in a jail cell. To just be real clear.
When I went to prison, I actually studied. And a very long story short is I studied the government. I found out things that I was like, whoa. So what I realized is everything is vibration. So then I dedicated to vibration. And then I realized my brain really surrenders to vibration. So if you look at the most intellectual people in the world, excuse me, Bill, I'm not talking about you because I know you do your work. But Bill, when we have this conversation, the most intellectual people in the world are the ones that suffer the most. That's the evidence right there in the pudding, right?
100%.
The people, right? And so let's not go further than that. Right
Okay,
there.
good. Okay, Bill. So let's get back. So the miracle affirmation. We don't really have time to do one, but maybe we can do it real quick. But let's talk about that because that's the thing. And
right.
You have to address. Not you have to. It addresses what you believe is true, what you actually think, versus affirmations, which are. And Barbara says something different. She says, look up about affirmations, not affirmations, or I don't know what she's saying. Affirmations instead of affirmations. So she's playing with the word, but I don't think we're talking about that. What we're talking about, Barbara, is we're talking about when you plant something that you don't believe, that you don't fundamentally believe. And so you're playing a game with yourself, trying to get yourself to believe. Is that what you're saying, Bill? Did he freeze? Son of a God. Every time we get to this point, he freezes.
I jump in right there, Martin?
Yeah.
Well, I think believe and knowing have been so separated. When we believe, we have to train ourselves. Not we have to. We get to train ourselves to believe, but when we get to experience something, the belief turns into a knowing. Can we agree? Like once
Say that again. Say that again.
When you're working with belief, right? You're working with something that you don't know. Internally, you do. That's why you're focused on it.
I think when you're working with belief, you're working with something that you think is.
But that's why
like
you battle these. But that's why you battle these polarities, right?
So when I don't know. It's your thought.
Let me give you an example. The first time you learn to ride a bike, right? You believed you can ride a bike, but sometimes you had doubt.
So when you ride a bike, you look at the bike. When it comes to riding a bike, you looked at the bike, and you said, I want to do what Raymond's doing. Like my neighbor's Raymond, he had a bike, and I got a bike, and I go, I want to do what Raymond does. I want to do what Valerie does. I want to do what Freddie does. Like that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to do something. I
So that was a
didn't
belief.
even have, it wasn't even a belief. I didn't even need a belief because it wasn't like I needed to believe. I just wanted to do it. Belief wasn't even part of it. Like as
Martin,
a 4-year-old, I wasn't trying to believe anything.
but it is a belief because here's the point. You see somebody riding a bike, you see that it's possible, right? It's like the 4-minute mile.
Sure.
The 4-minute mile was a belief until it was broken.
Yeah, but I think what happens is, and Bill, chime in if you can keep your phone going.
I know.
But see, the belief as a child is different because as an adult, we actually use belief as an indicator. Like, am I going to do this or not? And we actually go to the belief to decide, are we actually going to try something? As a child, I look back at myself and I saw Raymond ride a bike. I saw Freddie ride a bike. I saw Vic ride a bike. I saw Terry ride a bike. I saw these are my neighbors. I saw them all ride a bike. And I said, I want to do that. Belief wasn't something I had to navigate. Now I'm 58 years old. And I said, okay, I'm going to run a Spartan race. Right. So at 56, I said, I'm going to run a Spartan race before I'm 57. So Ingrid, my girlfriend, and I, we said, let's train for that. And I had to deal with the fact of, I had to deal with my belief system. I had to deal with my belief system.
Right.
I didn't have to deal with my belief system when I was 4 years old.
Exactly. Yeah, what's going on is, as the child, we have not been exposed to as much negativity in the world as the adult version of us has. So self-doubt for the younger child has not entered their world. But as we grow older, we're continuously exposed more and more and more to harmful input from other people. We learn to doubt ourselves. The negativity grows. And this is why I had to create the thought of inverse self-image. You take the small child, they don't have that. And, they have this big self-image, even though they're small, right? And so, it's like, oh, look at me, look what I can do, look what I can do, look what I can do.
I'm going to be a spaceman or whatever, right?
Yeah, and then as they grow older, they're getting exposed to more and more negativity. So that self-image goes down and down and down. It's go, oh, I better not say something. I might embarrass myself. I might get criticized. So we start self-editing. We start doubting ourselves.
So an affirmation isn't required as a child. An affirmation isn't even required as an adult. It can be useful. This is what I hear you saying. It can be useful, but in order to make it useful, we don't need to, but it would make sense to address what your real beliefs are. Like, what do you believe? Like, this is what you believe.
But what is a belief, Martin? If we break down what a belief is, it's a thought you keep thinking.
Well, yeah, no, but we're not going deep in that. Okay, that's not what we're doing. We're going surface level. Okay, we're just going surface level. So surface level is, I believe this about myself. I believe that about myself. It's driven through these. I mean, you can take all your beliefs and you can say they're either you're a good person or a bad person. You have value or you're worthless, or you meet your expectations or not. Are you in control? You're out of control. You could pretty much take everything, and I don't know if there's other stuff you can take, but I would say at this point in this conversation, you could take everything that you believe about yourself, everything that you think, and it could fit one of these 4 categories, which is really 8 categories, right? So it could fit 8 different boxes. Okay. So if I'm going to change, if I say I want to change the results, I want a different result in my life, where I could look is I can look in one of these 8 boxes and say, I need a miracle affirmation that is going to drive me toward the result I'd like, and that is going to have respect for the thought that I have that's already part of my automatic pre-designed programming that I've built up beliefs, right or wrong, that are having me go in the direction I don't want to go.
Right. It's not that you built them up. It's that other people built them up for you by how they treated you.
Sure.
Because how
Sure.
people treat us actually fit into those, 4 different types of beliefs, from the negative to the positive. And there are nasty people out there that are looking to, get their whatever it is they want. Could be social status, or they just want to feel good by making by making somebody feel down.
Sure.
And so those negative things cause us to believe negative things about ourselves, and that's how these prime beliefs are built. And that's why we, as the child, we're good. We don't have these self-doubts, but as we grow older, we become more and more doubtful of our own selves, our own skills, our abilities, and what we're capable of. And that's where these come from. So then we have to actually undo all of that.
And does
the
the
beauty of the whole thing
is undo that?
Yeah, we undo that. Yeah. So the beauty of the whole thing that I have is we don't need to know what all those, things are that people have done to us, because it instead of saying this thing happened to me and I need to fix that, and that thing happened to me, for like 10,000 things in our lives, right?
I need healing for all these little things. Yeah.
Right. We look at this is the result.
Yeah.
Let's work on, the result right here. This is what we're going to work on. And that's what the miracle affirmation does for the first 2 prime beliefs. So
when's your book coming out?
So the miracle affirmation is, first off, you have to check off all the different things that we agree as people are valuable human qualities. And that's why when I hand this to somebody to do, there's a checklist of a number of things on there.
Like virtues, like in a sense, virtues.
Virtues, exactly. I'm honest. I care about people.
I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm
virtues, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a whole checklist there, and so I have people check those off, because that's going to fill in the blank. Now, see, when we check off those things, these things are true. So that's where the power comes from. So the line would go, I have value as a person because I am honest. And this also means I am a good person. So when you get to that part about I'm honest, and you checked it off because it's already true for you, the back of the mind goes, true.
You are that. Okay, got it. He froze up again. So Michael, let's dive into that part really quick, and we got to finish up in a few minutes, but let's dive into that part really quick that he said. I'm going to kick him off.
One thing is, thank you, Martin. One thing is that and like I'm saying, I'm not contradicting anything that's being said.
No, let's just play with his thing. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
I get it that you come from a deeper place and all that. Let's just play with this.
Okay.
This is the game this is the toys we're playing with right now.
Okay. So ask me the question, so I have more of a grounded place.
So Bill's talking about he's talking about well, we're gonna beat it up. Yeah.
About the affirmation, about being positive and feeling that.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say feeling, but he said like the brain agrees with it. So like when you say an affirmation and you're like, and like you believe like as a virtue, you believe that you're a kind person or you're a loving person.
Right.
And you include that as part of your miracle affirmation, then he said that the brain goes, yeah, that's correct. The thing that threw me off was that he still kind of went to this thing called I'm a good person or a bad person. That's the part that threw me off.
That's where I want to chime in, because where that's going to go.
Yeah. So
keeping it general, keeping it general. I think when we talk about good or bad, positive, negative, it's our justification of being right or wrong. It's a safety mechanism.
Yeah. Let's not go too deep in that. Let's
we're not going there either. Okay.
No, you can go there, but try to stay more surface, like if you don't mind,
okay.
more on the surface of that. Because I'll tell you guys, if you're listening, Michael goes, he'd take me down a rabbit hole, and half the time I don't even know where the hell he's going. And then I'm like, you got to tell me that, like for a 5th grader, because and I'm a pretty deep thinker. What the hell did you just talk about? Now let's go ahead and finish up, because it's an hour and I seriously, I can just keep talking. This is like, you guys okay to keep talking? Are you guys good?
I can go for a few more minutes.
Okay, let's go.
I just might have an emergency. Martin, because I'm doing a
Let's go for another 2 or 3 minutes then. Let's sum it up then. Let's just sum the thing up. So, Bill, why don't you give us like a summary of what we talked about, and how people can apply it. And then Michael, let's do the same thing, like a summary from your perspective of it. And then I'll then kind of like follow up with that.
Okay. Yeah, basically this information, I'm the researcher, I'm the developer. So I haven't published any books or anything.
I'm going to kick him out. I'm not going to put him back in if he comes back in. You and I just finished this up.
Okay.
So I'm going to kick him out of studio. Okay. So what do you have to say about what we've talked about in the last hour and 10 minutes?
Well, when I went to
any way you want, brother, any way you want. I'm not going to stop.
Anyway. Okay.
Any way you want to do it, but keep it understandable because you go deep. Okay?
So very simple. Okay. Very simple. If we look at the planet, it's looking for harmony. What are we looking for? Harmony, right? So when I hear paradise, it's harmony. If I'm not in harmony, then I'm chasing or escaping. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So when I focus on finding my center, aka I slow down, and when aka I slow down, I move faster because it's quality over quantity without going too deep.
Okay, so let me get that. So when you slow down, you actually move faster because
Yes.
you're moving with quality versus quantity. You're not spazzy. You're focused.
Right. And why do you think the brain can't keep up with us?
Because it's the heart running the show. Because the brain is only
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. No, that's
If you ask yourself what got you to ride on a bike, it's the experience. You wanted to feel what it feels like to get on there and feel what it feels like to see your friends having fun.
No, I understand that, but we're talking about how do we reprogram my brain? How do we reprogram?
So an easy way to reprogram the brain is to recognize what is your wrench in the gears of your mechanism of who you think you are. What's
cool?
Right? Okay.
Oh, cool. So Bill, what I'm going to do? I'm going to have you summarize it. If you get bumped off, I'm just going to go ahead and summarize it. We'll be done for the day.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, the best advice I give everybody is, make a mastery of people skills. Focus on that, because the way people treat us is how we are programmed. So as we improve our people skills, we go out in the world, people react better to us, and that does help to improve the programming. Now, of course, that's not going to improve it as much as my research has enabled the level of reprogramming to do. And from what I see with the work I've done, I'm unleashing a whole new level of what is possible for the human being. Right now, this is marks the 11th anniversary of the last time I had an illness that was, strong enough that I wanted to go see a doctor for.
Yeah.
So health right there is one of the main things. I see many other things improving in my life as I go through this process. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm fully on the path.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So thank you guys. Thank you both for hanging out today. It's called the Men's Breakthrough Hangout. I'm so grateful that you guys have shared. This is amazing. It was an amazing conversation. What I heard today was Bill. Well, what happened is I invited Bill after we had a phone conversation the other night. I wanted to have him on Men's Breakthrough Hangout, and because he was sharing about how he noticed something about me. He noticed something about how I was talking, and that in what I said was coming from a negative perspective versus a paradise perspective versus a positive perspective. And it caught me off guard, and I wasn't offended by it, not in the least. I was curious about it. I was like, wow, this is not a direction I want to come from. Like, I don't want to come from a negative direction when it comes to talking to people, when it comes to connecting with people, when it comes to expressing love, when it comes to all that. And then you had said there was something called a miracle affirmation I was really interested in hearing. And I'm okay with the fact that we didn't do an exercise in it. Totally okay with it, because I think what we talked about was so valuable. So there's four prime beliefs. And the first prime belief is you're either a good person or a bad person. You're like, and that's not a belief. You're asking yourself constantly, or at some level, or it's being asked, and it's this thing is you're kind of wondering, like you're looking out to see if you're a good person or a bad person. And that drives your behaviors, and the prime beliefs drive your behaviors, and it drives your experience. And then the other thing is on value. Are you a valuable person, or are you worthless? And the other one is expectations. Are you meeting your expectations, or are you not meeting, or are other people meeting yours or not? And then are we in control, or are we out of control in our lives? And this just keeps happening. It's just, and when I'm looking and considering what you're saying, I could say, yeah, I can see all of that going on. I could see all of that happening, all that going on. So then he said that there is a thing called a miracle affirmation, and the miracle affirmation allows you to shift. It allows you to shift that. It allows you to shift that
state,
that programming. It allows you to shift the programming. So rather than living from, it allows you to, the miracle affirmation allows you to shift that programming. So rather than living your life from good or bad, value or no value, expectations met or expectations not met, am I in control or I'm not in control, it programs you to create an experience of life, results in life that are automatic, that are congruent, that are built through your values and through your virtues and the qualities that you would like to have in your life, that are true qualities that you actually have, like that are a virtue. Like if you have a virtue for being kind, or if you have a virtue for being generous or honest, these are things that are part of your DNA, that I would say that are even below the prime beliefs. They're below the prime beliefs. It's kind of like soul purpose, right? It's like your soul force. It's what drives you and gives you energy. Now, the reason you have a negative belief or a judgment, this is kind of like more towards what Mike learned from Michael, is because you have two sides of you. You have these sides that are battling, but what you're saying is those sides aren't battling. You're just watching the battle happen. And none of them are true. What's true is, this is the way I look at it. What's true is that you're an amazing human being. You're an amazing spirit fundamentally. And what you're here on this earth to do is to have an experience, is to have a great experience. And you may have come to earth to not have a good experience. You may have come to earth to be a schmuck. You may have to learn what it's like to be a jerk. That might be your experience. That might be what you asked for when you were a little angel in heaven. You said, I'm going to go down earth and I want to know what it's like to be a complete asshole. I don't think that's really what happens, but I think that some sort of agreement gets made. So this is kind of what I put together with both you said. And I want to thank you both for your participation today. It was just a beautiful conversation.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah. So Bill, thanks a lot. And when's your book coming out, bro?
Not sure. If I do one, I think the first one might be the 7 Pillars of Winning Self-Talk.
It's good stuff, brother. You got some deep stuff. Both of you guys have great stuff. If you want to learn how to meditate, talk to Michael. If you want to learn how to reprogram your mind, talk to Bill. If you're interested in being more curious, let's have a conversation. Talk to Martin Lopez. Come to Men's Breakthrough. Guys, I love you both. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll be here next Tuesday at 4:00.